All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a huge, fundamental disconnect in some of the most popular Vedic astrology systems out there. You know the ones, the systems that promise to predict your life with this incredible mathematical certainty. But what happens when that math, no matter how precise it looks on paper, doesn't actually line up with the real stars in the sky anymore? Well, that's what we're here to find out. You see this phrase? The map is not the territory. This is the key. It's the key to everything we're about to unpack. It's basically a warning, right? That our models of reality, our maps, can get so detailed, so incredibly complex, that we just forget to look up and check if they still match the real world, the territory. And for our purposes, in astrology, that territory is the living, breathing night sky itself.
Okay, Section 1, the promise of precision. So, let's talk about the map. You've got these modern systems, right? Like KP and Khullar. They are super popular. And you know what their main selling point is? It's all about unbelievable mathematical accuracy. They claim they can move way beyond just general statements and get right into the world of pinpoint specific predictions.
So, how do they actually do this? Well, these systems, they're often called stellar astrology, and they claim they get this amazing precision by taking the traditional zodiac and just slicing it up into these tiny, tiny subsections. The whole idea is that if you know exactly which little microsegment a planet is in, you can predict events with just stunning detail and timing. I mean, it's a whole system built on a foundation of pure, clean mathematics. Section 2, a map for a lost sky. Okay, but this is where the big question comes in. Does this beautiful, super precise mathematical map still actually point to the real territory of the night sky? Or has the system just become this closed loop of logic, totally disconnected from the very stars it's supposed to be based on?
Now, to really get the problem here, we have to understand the basic building block of these systems, and that's the nakshatra. So just picture the 360-degree zodiac, right? It's cut into 27 perfectly equal slices. Every single one is exactly 13 degrees and 20 minutes wide. It's a flawless mathematical grid, super elegant, totally symmetrical.
And here's the problem. The actual physical stars, the bright lights in the sky that these nakshatras are named after, they just don't care about our neat and tidy grid. Not at all. Over centuries, because of their own movement and the Earth's wobble, these stars have drifted. They just don't fit inside their designated boxes anymore.
So what happens when the sky and the spreadsheet disagree? This really leads to a critical moment of truth, doesn't it? When your perfect spreadsheet, your whole mathematical system, says one thing, but a direct look up at the actual sky says something completely different. Which one do you trust? Let's look at the smoking gun here. Okay, let's take a look at the case of Swati, because this is probably the most compelling piece of evidence. The mathematical grid says that the Swati nakshatra is defined as being from 6 degrees 40 minutes to 20 degrees of Libra. But the physical reality? The star of Swati, Arcturus, is actually located at about 0 degrees Libra. That's a huge difference. The star is almost a full 7 degrees outside the start of its own designated slice of the sky. It's not even the right place.
And this is really the cheat, right? The system is claiming that you get stellar influence from what is basically an empty patch of sky. When a planet enters that mathematical zone of Swati, the system says, okay, it's getting the influence of the star Arcturus. But Arcturus isn't there, it's somewhere else entirely. So the system is calculating influences based on an empty patch of sky, using a coordinate system that's just lost its physical anchor. And that really is the fundamental problem.
All right, Section 3, fruit of the poisonous tree. Now, this isn't just some minor little calibration error we can ignore. There's a legal concept, fruit of the poisonous tree, and it's perfect here. It basically means that any evidence you get from a tainted source is also tainted. So let's see how this one foundational error just corrupts everything that's built on top of it.
It's like a cascade of errors, a real domino effect. So, step 1, the foundation is flawed. That neat 13-degree 20-minute grid is just astronomically inaccurate. Then, step 2, the timing gets corrupted. The famous Vimshottari Dasha system, which calculates timing based on those imaginary boundary lines, is now measuring from a fictional starting point. And finally, step 3, fictional precision. What about those super precise sublords and sub-sublords from KP and Khullar? Well, they're basically just micromanaging empty space. They're dividing up a piece of sky that's already in the wrong place.
So, you see, if the root is corrupted, everything that grows from it is tainted. It really doesn't matter how sophisticated your calculations get, or how incredibly precise the subdivisions are. If the starting point, the root of the whole system, is disconnected from physical reality, then the entire predictive structure built on top of it, well, it all becomes questionable, doesn't it?
Section 4,
Two honest paths forward. So, okay, if we accept this disconnect is real, what's an astrologer who really cares about astronomical integrity supposed to do? Well, there are basically two honest paths you can take. And this table really lays out the two main approaches. On one side, you have Path A, the real sky approach. Its foundation is the unequal physical nakshatras. And on the other, Path B, the safe container, which uses the big 30-degree zodiac signs, or rashis. The real sky path basically abandons dasha systems for transits only, while the safe container abandons nakshatra-based systems for rashi dashas. It's a trade-off, right? One is astronomically pure, the other is astronomically stable. Let's dig into each one for a second.
So, Path A, the real sky approach. This is really for the purist. It means you have to abandon that equal 13-degree 20-minute grid completely. You'd have to define nakshatras by the actual star locations, which means they'd have unequal spans. And the big consequence? You have to use only transits for prediction. You give up the dasha systems. It's absolutely the most astronomically pure method, but it's a big change.
Then there's Path B, the safe container. This is kind of the pragmatic choice. You acknowledge the nakshatra grid is flawed. It's just not working. So you retreat to the larger 30-degree zodiac signs, the rashis. These are like big, safe containers that are large enough to actually hold the stars, even with all the drift over time. But this means you have to discard Vimshottari Dasha and all those sublords. Instead, you adopt Rashi-based dashas, like the ones from Gemini, for your timing.
Section 5. Reality or simulation? This brings us to the ultimate question, really. And it's not just for astrologers, but for anyone who's interested in these systems. What are you actually dealing with here?
Look, there is no denying that these systems are magnificent edifices of logic. I mean, systems like KP and Khullar, they are incredible structures of internal logic. But if that foundation is flawed, if that logic is based on something that has completely severed its ties to the physical sky, then what you have is a brilliant simulation. It's a complex, internally consistent game, sure, but it's not necessarily a reflection of reality.
And that's the final question we're left with, isn't it? Is your astrology reflecting the living sky or a convenient spreadsheet? It really challenges all of us to decide what we value more. Is it the elegant certainty of a self-contained mathematical system, or is it the messy, dynamic, but verifiable truth of the actual stars up there? Are you looking at the map, or are you looking at the territory?